Hey, it is Jodi. I'm in here. Thanks so much for watching this class. I'm doing this class live for the first recording. So you may be watching live and hello, say hello. And you may be watching the recording. But in this video, we're going to be talking about the emotional needs of teenagers right now, post pandemic, or right now in this modern culture, because it's not only the pandemic that's really influenced and really impacted them lately, their mental health. So I've been a psychotherapist for 25 years and I've been working with kids and teens and adults. And I've really seen the changes over the last quarter of a century and really got to understand and see firsthand by hearing like the innermost thoughts of teenagers, of parents, of educators, of other counselors to really know what is going on with them. And I know and I feel what all of you are thinking and feeling right now because I'm a parent of teenagers too. And so I have witnessed firsthand in my own house, like the intensity of what they're experiencing right now. So just take a moment and see if you could put yourself in their shoes. I know you've been in your shoes, but see if you could put yourself in their shoes and into the experience that they've might have had the last couple years. Like a huge roller coaster, right? A huge roller coaster. And I could feel all the feels from all of you watching because you've been through it like in the trenches. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the emotional needs of the teenagers, your teenagers, our teenagers collectively in the US. And some of this will probably translate to a lot of other countries, what's going on for them, because our modern world is really affecting how we are understanding ourselves and how we're understanding the world. It's very influential. So I'm going to talk about four emotional needs, four needs of your teenagers. And I'm going to explain them and the whys of them. And then I'm going to give you three tips at the end of this class, three tips of what you need to bring into their life so they feel better, so they feel more happy and joyful and understanding and like they can, right? So they can feel like they can, because there's so much about our culture and our context right now that says you can't. You can't. And we believe it, and teenagers believe it. I mean, we believe it, right? So they're going through something and we're like, "Oh, stop believing that." But we have to do our own work and clean up our own self first, right? Amen to that, right? We have to do that too. But in this video, we're going to be talking about their emotional needs and what you need to know so that you could really help and address them. And so I hope that serves you. So let's talk about four things. So the four emotional needs of teenagers is one, connectedness. People in general, but teenagers, they need connectedness. They need to feel like they belong to something, that they're connected and that people would miss them if they weren't there. And this leads to the second one because the second one is mattering. They want to believe that they matter, that they mean something to someone, that someone says, "Oh, you are important," right? So they matter. They have a worth or a reason for being here. So one is connectedness. They need to belong. We all need to belong. Do you ever feel like you didn't belong? That's how they feel all the time. There's so many messages coming at our young people saying like, you may not belong here. You got to do this to belong, or this shows you that you're not belonging because they're doing this, right? There's constant messages that's making us question our connectedness and our sense of belonging. And so that's one, connectedness. Two is mattering. They want to know that they matter, that it's important. Like, what's the point of being here? Do I even matter to anybody? We need to know that we matter, and teens need to know that they matter. The third one is agency. So, agency is this idea that you are an agent of your life, that you get to respond to all these things that happen to you. So, yeah, you can't control everything out there, but you can control your response. And your response means so much more. And how you feel, how you think, how you experience the world, your relationships, your response means more to how happy you are in your life much more than what happens to you. What happens to you definitely impacts you. Of course it does. Awful things happen to people and we are affected by it because we are human. Mm. And but we could respond. Response how you think about something, what you do next, how you make meaning out of it, um, how it makes you go forward, what it makes you, what convictions it gives you on account of it, right? You could have bitterness or you could have determination. There's a difference, and that's your agency. So that your agency is your control over your response in the context that you're in. And contexts are huge. We're not going to eliminate context, that would be like bypassing, thinking that things are unfair. In the world, things are unfair, things are unequitable. And we do have to acknowledge that, because if we don't acknowledge that, we're not doing anything to fight that. We're not doing anything to reconfigure resources and redistribute them. And so we do have to acknowledge that there is inequity and there's unfairness and there's trauma that happens. And those contexts are really real. But we also can respond to them. That doesn't make them okay. And that doesn't eliminate that they exist. It makes us more able to not be taken down by them so that we could do something about them, if that makes sense. Okay. And the last emotional need of teenagers is authority. So we need the authority. Now, there's a slight difference between agency and authority. And so agency is like your actions that you take, but authority is a little bit more. There's a little bit more aspect of like problem solving hard problems, or attempting challenges, and knowing that you could do it, right? So it takes agency and authority to kind of believe in yourself, to trust, to build that trust. So while agency is like trust in yourself, authority is like deep belief that you can do it. So these are the four emotional needs of teenagers. So how do we bring that on? What happened? Why did the pandemic ruin them? And that might be really obvious as I explained what they are. Obviously, it disrupted our connectedness. It disrupted us feeling like we have a sense of belonging because it isolated us. It kind of changed our routine. It changed everything. Um, and the uncertainty made us feel vulnerable and untethered. Untethered is not a good feeling. That's where trauma happens, right? You're unheld or untethered. And this is, we've had this collective trauma because we've all felt unheld and untethered by this time, especially our young people. And so, like, we were kind of busy trying to take care of everybody, and they were like, uh, right? So, that bit of agency and connectedness, because we were taking care of them, and mattering, because it mattered if we could take care of them, right? We had a purpose. Those things kind of kept us a little more anchored, and they didn't have. Just giving you that perspective there. So also it affect our mattering, because without really engaging in life, without really engaging in people, the mattering and connectedness and agency and authority, they're all really connected, and they come alive for us, or we could understand them and see that of ourselves through relationships. In fact, we're not a self outside of relationships. We can't really see ourselves. We can't really understand or get a sense of who we are, who how we see ourselves and how we understand ourselves is reflected off the people around us. And that's pretty significant, isn't it? Because if we are surrounded, first of all, if we're not surrounded by anybody, if we're in isolation, get out of isolation, get them out of isolation. It's one of the worst things you could do for the human psyche. We are social beings and it doesn't really work. We end up staying in the negativity. I forgot to tell you, I have this book, Anxiety, I'm So Done with You. It's a teen's guide to ditching toxic stress and hardwiring your brain for happiness. Now, parents, educators, counselors are reading this book too. It's written to the teenager, but anyone could read it and know what you have to do. And at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you about an audio I have. I have an audio that goes along with this book for adults. So for those parents and caregivers and teachers and counselors, you read a section of the book, you listen to the audio, and that really ins and outs of what you need as an adult. If you want that now, if you're like, stop watching this class, I really want that thing. I don't want to forget. It's jodiema.com/help because you're going to help them. Okay. So this time has really been significant in disrupting all these emotional needs that we have. And if you want to know a little bit more, this was pre-pandemic. Now, I did my TEDx talk, my TEDx Wilmington talk before the COVID pandemic. So I was already starting to talk about these needs for mattering and agency and authority and connectedness. I was already starting to talk about how our modern world disrupted that for us even before the pandemic. And the pandemic really compounded and made it worse. So this is what I want you to know. This is what I want you to know to help them get better, to get that connectedness and the mattering and the agency and the authority. First of all, grab a copy of my book, grab the audio, jodiema.com/help. And also, these are the three things I want you to do. I want you to help them get involved in something. Right? When we get involved in something, we have an immediate connectedness because there's other people doing that activity too. It sparks our interest. We need to spark that interest to spark our neurotransmitters, right? Isolation and not doing anything and not trying really gets us disinterested in life. We don't even care if we feel better. When you have a teenager who is like, I don't really care. I don't really care. I don't care if I feel better. I don't care if I feel better. I mean, they say I don't care a lot. That's different. Sometimes it's a statement of caring, but this is when you hear them like, I don't like really no opinion at all. This means that their neurotransmitters haven't really been sparked. And we need to spark it. You need to find something that's interesting to them. You need to get them interested in doing something. And if you can't find something, keep trying to put new things in front of them because we want to get those neurotransmitters, the dopamine. So when we experience something that's interesting or pleasurable, our dopamine kicks off. And when the dopamine in our brain kicks off, we're like, oh, I want to do that again. And so we try it again and then try it again. And it sparks us, right? It gets us interested and it gets us doing something and active. And so we really need to bring that into their life, depending on where they are right now. That is an urgent thing. But this also brings growth mindset. And I do have another video on growth mindset that you could check out on YouTube. Just Google or search my name and our growth mindset. That doing some activity usually has some kind of goal. And so you're getting them to think about ahead and think of a goal and plan and work towards something and be productive. And that's excellent for the mind. It's excellent for your emotions. It's excellent for everything. It connects you to agency, authority, right? You're connected to other people. You matter because you have a purpose, right? We need a purpose. We need to have a purpose. So the second thing I want you to think about, so the first was get involved in something. The second thing is have them do hard things. Have them do challenging things. Of course, this brings up their authority. If they do those challenging things with other people, it brings up their connectedness. They're mattering because if they do hard things and it's for some reason for other people or for some other goal, then that increases their mattering. And also it reminds them that they have some skills. Right? People are so disconnected with their agency that they don't really think that they have skills. This is the thing is that a lot of young people walk around. The anxiety is so huge and the depression is so huge because kids think that they can't. They don't believe in themselves at all. They don't think that they have skills because everything in our modern culture is not showing us the skills that we have. Like we haven't done chores, we don't do really hard things, we don't and we forget that we could do stuff. We've forgotten. Right? These young people don't know. They really have the capacity because we're highly adaptable. We have this brain that's amazing. It's evolved for millions of years. We can actually do really, really hard things, but we've forgotten. And so we have to get them to do those things. And so they feel more empowered and more empowered. So sometimes when kids are anxious, we like take things off their plate. And when we take things off their plate, it's not necessarily helping them. And I don't mean put more pressure on and pressure them. I mean, there's a difference between challenging activities and pressure. We want them to feel challenged, but sparked by that, not pressured by it. Like, take down the expectations and let the journey or the figuring it out, the authority part of it, the figuring out and the problem solving be the thing that's the journey, right? It's not the destination. That's the destination, is the like discovery. Of course, once it's done, then you feel productive and it feels really good and you see the results. And so that does feel really, really good. And that could be celebrated at the end. But if there's this pressure from the beginning about that, it's not necessarily helpful. Okay, so the last thing, and I'm going to let you go because I don't want to take too long of a class. I just want to give you the nuts and bolts of what you need so you could go off and really like keep thinking about that, keep practicing with them. I have some help here. Either grab a copy of my book or get that audio. Now, I want to tell you, I have one more last thing to tell you, but when you get that audio right now, I have a combo pack. And in the combo pack, I have all of my parenting programs and everything, my affirmations program, my forgiveness program. You get a book that I mail you in the mail. You get the audio program. You get my teen parenting program and my kid parenting program. I just put it all together and then made a combo pack out of it. So that's jodieamon.com/help. Help. Please help. So the last thing I want you to bring into your kids' lives right now is play. Play and laughter as much as you possibly can. Watch funny videos, do fun things, creative projects, anything that involves playing, laughing, joking, make believe, creativity, because that's going to really get that brain going. It's going to get that prefrontal cortex going, and that's going to decrease depression and anxiety. But plus laughter increases the neuroplasticity in the mind. So in the brain, you have, when you have some negative thinking, that's the same pattern. You always think, I'm a jerk, I'm loser, right? We get the same pathways. And to be really efficient, the brain kind of makes these pathways kind of sets them, not set in stone, just sets them. And then it could get there faster. So it becomes like a habit and it becomes like easier. And so when we try something else, it's a little harder at first because there's not like that groove in there. But if we laugh, then it increases our neuroplasticity and it's easier to change directions. So we're going to laugh as much as we can. And not only does laughter increase the neuroplasticity, so it's helpful to change directions, it also obviously lifts the mood up. So when we're changing directions and when our mood is lifted up, of course, it's going to go into something a little bit more positive. So laugh as much as you can. Listen to comedy in the car, watch funny videos. It doesn't matter what it is, just laugh. Stop taking this whole world really seriously and really be a model for how we can lighten up. Because this is what I've noticed in 25 years. People have been becoming increasingly more serious about their problems, even problems that they're kind of making up because they're worried. Really serious. And when we think they're really serious, then we get really distracted trying to solve the seriousness and the problem instead of, and the whys of the problem, instead of really being able to enjoy life and feel good and be in the present moment. And that's what I want for them. So gosh, I have so much more for you in all these programs in this combo pack. If you want to get it, if you want to go deeper, in the programs, I talk about 4 things that, as parents, we need to do for kids and growing up. That's really, really important. But I really give the ins and outs of like why I'm telling the kids and the readers in the book what I'm telling them. And so that you could really reinforce that. So you could start conversations and really bring out the information like I want to bring it out, that will really serve them in the highest way. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming to this class, The Emotional Needs of Teenagers. And I feel you. I'm thinking of you. And let me know what I could do next for you. So let's help them and help you be that you want to be. Wait, That's not the end. The end of my thing is let that you ought to be shine through.